we should never make more out of one game than is necessary, right? Like watching last night, you could go, the team with the best weapons on offense won the Super Bowl, and the team that is weak in terms of weapons lost the Super Bowl. That doesn't really do a lot of justice to the fact that the Chiefs were 15-2 all year long and were the favorites going into the game minimally. But look at the Eagles, man. A.J. Brown down 17-0 is throwing a fit, and then they immediately throw him a touchdown pass right before he would pick up his book and start reading. They've got Devontae Smith, who's excellent. Jahan Dotson. How about our little Jahan Dotson?
Look at that.
Almost caught the first touchdown of the game, was down at the 1 yard line. By the way, that would have paid out nicely.
The old Dotson touchdown, yeah.
My buddy put 10 on it, was going to win $750. He's like, I'm crestfallen. I bet there's some Commanders fans who sprinkled a little money on Dotson scoring first. Just because he's your guy.
That first TD for Jahan Dotson. Who would have thunk it?
But I want to talk wide receivers that are available. So Debo Samuel wants out of San Fran. The 49ers are allowing him to go get himself a trade. Remember, they paid Brandon Ayuk to be their number one last offseason. When that happened, it became pretty likely because you got to pay Brock Purdy a couple $100 million, $60, $65 million a year, whatever it's going to be, that you probably were not paying Debo Samuel as well. So unless you need to extend him, Danny, which I am less interested in, and I'll just get ahead of it right now and say, if Debo Samuel and his agent, Tory Dandy, want a full extension of 3 or 4 years at $25 million a year or whatever, I'm out. But if you can bring him in on a 1-year show me deal and say you get to play with Jaden Daniels, we're going to be in the mix in the NFC, and you're going to be a great fit, and Cliff Kingsbury sits him down and says, here's why. At $17.5 million, I know everybody's out because of his injury history. I like this a lot more than I like any Cooper Kupp idea, unless, of course, Cooper Kupp were to get cut and it would cost a couple $1 million.
Yep.
I like this, honestly, more than T. Higgins. Better football player, but T. Higgins is a break-the-bank guy. He's going to be one of the highest-paid wideouts in the league. There's never been a bad 1-year deal, man. That's just not a big contract, and I got the third most cap space. Just close your eyes and think about all those Diami tunnel screens and it being Debo Samuel.
Right. The best in the league at that, probably.
Yeah.
So your point, I think, is right on here. If the reason Debo Samuel wants out is not because he's disgruntled or hates San Francisco. Now, I haven't seen any reports on this. I'm just sort of reading the tea leaves. It's because he's looking around going, I'm not getting an extension here. They chose Ayuk. They're about to pay Brock Purdy, whatever it is, 55, 60, 70 million bucks a year, whatever the number is. There's no more left for me. And they probably don't want to pay me because you already mentioned it. I miss a bunch of games per year. I'm always banged up. I'm coming out of the lineup, et cetera. And there's probably just not enough pie here for me to have a good slice. So I want to go somewhere where I can get that contract, and we'll activate that now, and I can be had in trade, and San Francisco get something, and they're not just going to let me walk in free agency, et cetera. So this is me talking out of both sides of my mouth. I love Debo Samuel. I would love to have Debo Samuel. Because of said history and his playing style, he's going to get hit. He's like a power forward. He's going to have contact. He's going to run through people. He's going to truck people. You have to use him the way that he's used because he's so good at it. That means he's going to get banged up. That means he's missing time. I can't do the top of the market deal for him that T. Higgins is going to get, that he'll be bound to get from somebody, right? I mean, I know I'm sitting there going, please add some talent. Well, here's talent, and I'm going, but not that kind. Like, it's not as if there's just an infinite supply of playmaking, difference-making wide receivers are available. It's just, if I can do this year for not that much, that's a great value. So having to extend him.
Well, yeah. When I tweeted something along the lines of, if you could get Debo Samuel for a year at $17.5 million, I would actually be in on that.
Oh, 100%.
A shocking number of Commanders fans took great issue with that, based on the injury history, how banged up he gets.
Which I get.
No thanks. It's 1 year.
Yeah, I think they're wrong, but I get that. You go, all you're doing is going, do I want him or not? No, he's always hurt. Okay, yeah, but that's why you can't do a big contract. That's why I can't sign T. Higgins to a top-of-the-market deal.
When he's healthy, he is one of the best playmakers in the NFL.
Yep.
You agree with that?
100%.
I also don't think you have to do what Kyle Shanahan does, by the way. Kyle Shanahan puts him in the backfield and runs him downhill physically, and he takes on big thumps. What is the wrestling term? Pops,
bumps,
right?
Bumps.
That's what it is. He takes big-time bumps in the second level from linebackers because he's running between the tackles like he's a tailback. You don't have to do that. You could line him up in the backfield and sprint him out into the flat to catch some passes or have him run some Texas or arrow routes or some choice stuff. You could give him the occasional jet carry. I think that running him into space makes a lot of sense. But I would say with him now going to be 29 years old, going into the 7th year of his career, having not played a full season one time, we've got enough sample where you don't use him like a tailback as often as San Francisco did. I did see that somebody was saying, well, he played 15 games the last 2 years. It's not like he's that injured. That is so misleading. He's one of these guys, if you've ever had him in fantasy, you already know where I'm going with this. He is banged up and plays and doesn't help much, right? There was a game this year where he played and he didn't have a target or a catch. There were another game against Detroit where he played. He had 1 catch for 5 yards, leaves the game. He had a 3-target day against the Cardinals, 1 catch, 11 yards. A 3-target day against the Bears, 2 catches, 22 yards. Played against the Packers, had 1 catch for 21. Like a lot of those games, Danny, he didn't practice all week. He wasn't 100%. He had the Q next to his name on your fantasy roster.
Yep.
So it's not just like, oh, he played 15 games. How many games was Debo Samuel? That's what I would ask someone. And I would say
just
probably
over half.
Maybe 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Like he had 110, 102, 96, 71, 62, 58, 54-yard games. Right around 7 times where he made a big impact for San Francisco. Is that worth $17.5 million? Probably not. So you'd have to find a way to keep him healthier than the 49ers did.
Right.
Do you think you could do that a year older?
Which means, you don't do the 13, 14, 15 touch games, right? Which is a couple out of the backfield, a couple carries, a handful of carries. Oftentimes, there are, in his game log over the years, there's an 8-carry game, there's a 6-carry game, a couple of 5s over the last year. That's part of what makes him special, but maybe you save those for January football. Maybe you save that for the second time you play Philadelphia and you got to have it, right? Maybe you save that for, I don't know, the must-win moment, right? It's almost like having a quarterback that can run. It sounds awesome, but given, Jaden Daniels 20 carries a week, I don't want to do that for 17 weeks. You know what I mean? Like that's probably not a great recipe for the guy to maintain his health. Same with Debo Samuel at this stage of his career, but he's an excellent player. When he's right, it's can you keep him right? Do you have a good enough plan to do so? But again, I know I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. I'm so desperate for a couple more offensive playmakers, not to beat Carolina, not to beat Cleveland, to beat Philadelphia. I think you got to have one. I don't know that I can do a high price tag sort of damaged goods is not fair, but buyer beware kind of guys. And Higgins and Samuel will both qualify for an extension. If I can do this year and he gets something out of it, I get something out of it, and he's willing to accept that, I would certainly take it. Right? Just that one, this 1 year at a really affordable price, I'll do that 100%.
Yards per catch since his debut season in 2019, 5th best in the NFL. Yards after the catch since he started in the NFL in 2019.
Got to be high.
4th best.
Yeah, there you go.
Drop percentage in the NFL since he made his debut, best in the NFL. Yeah. He doesn't drop passes. So the dismissal because of health, I'm just not on. It doesn't mean I'm going ham and going to the table and saying, all right, let's find you a big extension. But I'm going to see what if we could figure out something that works for both of us over a couple of years. I mean, you just watch the Eagles. They had a pretty good offense, and they traded for A.J. Brown. They had a pretty good wide receiver room. They drafted Devontae Smith in the top 10. They already had Goddard. They've got all these weapons. They've got running backs who are productive, and they go pay Saquon Barkley. Like, they are doing it a very, very different way, which is to say, yeah, we'll give up a 3rd for Jahan Dotson. He'll make a couple of big catches for us in the playoffs. Seems crazy to me, but they are prioritizing weapons, and this guy is a weapon. This was Dan Orlovsky on ESPN today, highlighting a few teams that he thought made some sense for Debo Samuel.
I think the Denver Broncos could be a team that you would entertain. Sean Payton always loves guys that he can get the football into their hands and try to make something happen with it. I would say the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. We know Pittsburgh needs to and wants to add a little bit more perimeter help. There's going to be plenty of teams that want Debo Samuel. Is he the Debo Samuel of 19, 20, 21? I don't know, but I do think the versatility that he can use in a Cleveland Browns type of offense could be a big benefit for an offense and a young quarterback.
He did not mention the Commanders there, but he did mention some weapon-starved teams. I think the reason you don't hear Washington linked is because they've got McLaurin. Like that group he just named, they need reliable
They need the
guys.
first guy, yeah.
Exactly. The Steelers have George Pickens, who makes these acrobatic, crazy catches, but he's very volatile, and I don't know that he's trustable, and he's certainly not a wide receiver 1. He's more of an athlete, right? But a couple of those teams, they need guys that can turn first downs into touchdowns. I would say so does Washington. I mean, how many throws this year until the final few games? That Eagles game comes to mind, actually, when like Alameda Zacchaeus did it. How many times did a guy catch like a crosser or a drag or something in the flat and turn it into a massive explosive?
Yeah, McLaurin did it once, if you remember.
Never happened.
Yeah.
Like the Cowboys game, Terry had one of those.
Mhm.
That was like 15, 18 yards downfield, but he still turned it into a huge play. That's what Debo does.
Yes. That's the point.
He's on your roster.
I don't have a better name for it. You know, for defenders, we call it the playmaking gene. On offense, it's the easy button. The easiest way to do the easy button is Deshaun Jackson behind the defense, Tyreek Hill behind the defense. The second easiest is that hitch, that bubble screen, that tunnel screen, that comeback, that one broken tackle, and now it's a huge gain. He's as good as anybody in the league at that, right? Like it's the perfect hybrid between running back bursting through the hole with all the power that you could want, and then some speed, burst, hands, pretty good route runner. I mean, when he's healthy, he is a weapon. I mean, like the classic definition of a weapon.
Let's rank the wideouts that have come up linked to Washington. So T. Higgins, Cooper Kupp, and now Debo Samuel.
Is this assuming health or not? Or is that
I
baked
think
in?
you have to. Otherwise, you're not signing the guy, right? So, yeah, but just interest at their rate.
Mm-hmm.
So Debo, I'm saying 1 at 17.5.
That's
if you
my
can
one
get that done.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp, I'm going to say has to be cut. And then you're getting him at $3 or $4 or $5 or $6 million for a 1-year deal or something like that to kick the tires and see what he's got left. Or T. Higgins, who's going to break the bank. Like, where is your interest level? Or are you looking a different direction at wide receiver?
Yeah, of those three guys, Samuel's one for this year at this amount. I don't think Kupp's, if he ends up, getting traded for very little at this year, is a crazy amount for a wide receiver too, is maybe diminishing in skill set and explosiveness. I just can't go win the bidding for T. Higgins at the market rate right now.